Vampire Princess sees a rose-colored dream update. This chapter has yet to be checked by Senpai. It may be updated when it is. G.O.D knows when it will be checked. If you know if the translation is wrong or if there's anything that needs correcting, do leave a comment. Chapter 3 Part 17 Time does not wait *A/N. This time around, it's a monster battle in front of the monster bunch that came flying towards the enemies, and the gigantic 100-legged Mukid crawled on the ground resembled the dignified movement of a movable fortress. Akaraga's single large eye curved into the shape of a smile. This is also a battle. I'll have to as much fun as possible. From there, he introduced himself with a dignified voice. Listen, you nameless small fries. My name is Akaraga, the one who releases demonic lights above the skies, Imperial Crimson's chief of the 13 demon shogun. For the precious beautiful master of mine, rather than by Hyuki-sama's imperial command, I come to subjugate you, rebels. If you're not scared of such power, bring it on. In that instant, Akaraga's entire body released beams of rainbow colors. Infrared rays, visible rays, X-rays, high-frequency rays, electromagnetic waves, free electrons, and such, a laser of every possible wavelength, looming over the enemy's monsters, about to mow them down. Half of them were annihilated, the half of them who were left was able to withstand it. On the contrary, they launched counterattacks at Akaraga. Fumufamo, as I thought, it's chewy compared to humans. To be honest, it wasn't the power of single blows, but because it was as long as 70 meters and above, to receive that attack all at once, the damage was large. Isolated by a barrier, furthermore knocked down by gravity ray. The first group of enemies was replaced by the next as they were vanquished. The second group and Mukid moved. Raising their heads, they approached Akaraga without pause. Even the large Akaraga seemed like a ball under a giant tree in front of the movable fortress, but without any sign of panic, he had stayed at the spot. If possible, I would have wanted to play a little longer. The large one has approached. I bid you farewell. In an instant, at pointed ends of Akaraga's tentacles, darkness was born, and then the light in the S.P.A.C.E surrounding it warped due to gravity. Dimension /. The next moment, the darkness that was condensed had destroyed them continuously in explosions. Even the one around the corner was completely annihilated. Rather than challenging the second group of enemies, the Mukid within range was pruned cleanly. For the movable fortress made of blocks, the PAS. Which was damaged, cut, and separated. In between that short moment, once more the neck crooks, but being wary of the dimension / kept its distance and placed bombardments, beams, corrosive liquid, etc., and S.H.I+fed into long-distance attacks. Quite tough, isn't it? Speaking of which, to have the back fall off after being attacked that much, even if I were to leave the likes of such damages. In that instant, from 4 directions, the whirlpool of light which drew near was swallowed up Akaraga. Although the barrier and gravity ray instantly destroyed each other, be as it may, less than 1% of the HP was shaved off, and the damage, Akaraga's eyes were serious, alert of the surroundings swiftly. With that eye, as if surrounding the area around oneself, a pentacle was drawn. It somewhat resembled his/her own body. More precisely, it was similar, a same type of being, probably Yog-Sothoth. However, this was only to the extent of 20 meters, it could only be the normal size and level version of summoned pet, the downgraded version. To perceive the enemy, it narrowed its eyes in displeasure. The same type, is it? Lacking in principles, you're a pitiful one who can't even be used as a tool. I would like to immediately release you from your hards.H.I+P. No, a wonderful thing, isn't it? As if you people are seeing the reflection of yourself from a distorted mirror. I can't take it anymore. Above all else, my name is Akaraga. Other than Hime, who granted me this name, I am the one and only. Disappear, you fake copy. This time, in the instant where the dimension /winks, the Yog-Sothoth was swallowed up, but other than the one nearby that was terminated, with the same standards of dimension / offsetting, the attacks are not guaranteed to succeed. The 4 left are staggering even though they are healthy. Fumu, it's been a long time since I could go all out during a battle. How would I be able to expect that one hit didn't manage to take him out? Although, one more strike, at that time, 4 fallen stars from the skies flew down and clashed with Yog-Sothoth's only eye. Before that, they split into 4 directions like a blooming flower. However, with that much vigor, spears made of orichalk.u.m were thrown, penetrating Yog-Sothoth's body in the middle, and plenty of kinetic energy was released. The 4 that scattered had the same sort of form, immediately got ready with different spears. At the appearance of the 4 angels heading towards the rest of the enemies, Akaraga had a bitter smile. Is it not the 4 seasoned sisters, Tsubaki, Inoki, Hisagi, Iragi? Their abilities should be bestowed praises, and definitely not disappointing enough to grieve over it. By all rights, they are Prink.I.P.Ultis star. In terms of CLA.S.S, there were very few races with higher abilities compared to them. Yog-Sothoth's position is the highest place in terms of strength. This is the difference between those who have name and motive and those who don't. We're the ones who are blessed. Unlike that foolish ruler, Hime-sama was able to stay as she is. And, earnestly grumbling, that one Yog-Sothoth, because of the 4 seasoned sisters' attack in waves, went down and stood on the earth. Please do not host this chapter on any other website without my permission. In that instant, to not leave an afterimage behind, as if dancing with G.O.Day like speed, Iki went and smashed that large body right into 2. Uooo. I am Hyuki-sama's #1 retainer, Iki. The very first who was honored with a name, UB.A.S.T.A.R.DS servant. I won't forgive you if you were to step 1 foot closer to Hime-sama. Everyone, all will be chopped. While shouting, the edges of the swords on his body elongated, furthermore stretched, plunging into the horsemen in the midst of the enemy's troops. Even though it was a group of monsters in a rush to attack, to try and chase with speed when in the middle free-for-all battle, in front of one's eyes the second when it came small pieces were like clever feats of as expected, it became a situation where they were killing each other due to friendly fire. Not only that, towards there, to the extent of bringing 100 summoned orc soldiers, Gaijin surged into the crowd. Ora. My name is Gaijin. Even I received this name from our Hime-sama, this I, the owner of the ramen shop Pork Bone Emperor. Orc soldiers and the enemies that were left entered what that seemed like a terrible free-for-all battle. Suddenly before you could notice, a golem that exceeded 4 meter, larger than Gaijin by a head, had struck towards those in front of his eyes. In one shot, the face of Gaijin who received a clean hit, why, this greenhorn not showing that it had any effect, with the sound of cracking from the bones held in both hands, the golem that lowered its waist aimed at his right and let out a straight star. Right away, even though both hands were raised to defend against the golem, each of those arms of Gaijin was in pieces. Your asterisk fists have no guts. Guts. And then, looking around the surrounding that's crowded with monsters with a glare, he swung the shoulder that made a cracking sound. For your information, my fist, filled with my willpower and the love of Hime-sama, are increased in toughness by twice or rather 100 times. Be prepared for it. Thus, to the Suju who had was there for the finest.H.I plus NG touch, famu, due to the young bunch's rowdiness it is quite enough. Well, since I suffered an unexpected defeat, I should go clean up While muttering this, he settled on the ground. All at once, the earth's nutrient, water, and magical power were absorbed, changing him into the form similar to a 15-meter large tree. As it's only the wilderness, the limit is to this degree Well then, as Hyuki-sama's second retainer, the one who granted Sujuyu's, my, name. I should not bring shame to that name. As it is, with a movement similar to sliding on the earth, from under his feet, roots in the shape of spears went in all directions as if spears held readily were thrust out from the earth, accurately shooting through the monsters of the enemy, and in their body, plant-type poison was produced. Those that died due to the pierce through the body, similar to how the shrike impales their prey on the tree branches, those that narrowly managed to avoid from being stabbed in their vitals, those that were convulsing due to the poison flowing into them and died, and those who panicked and positioned at a distance to try and strike Sujuyu's main body, was somewhat launched into the air by arrows of thorn sprung from their whole body. Furthermore, from their mouth, a breath of deadly poison was emitted like a curtain of fog. While gazing at the speed of this one-sided annihilation from the sky, good grief I, who is the same kind, have yet to make my entrance, to the extent of that large fortress, as Akaraga thought, in front of his eyes, the 2 Yog-Sothoth left, they burst and splattered like an apple falling on the ground. From there Mikoto, who flew with a nonchalant expression, cast a heel on Akariga. Are you alright, Akarigadano? You seem to have sustained some injuries. This sort are scratches only. And more or less the ones who sustained wounds after battles are the ones who were in high spirits. Is that so? Then, they're unnecessary treatment. No, I'm saved. I have to say my gratitudes. Also foremost, those on the ground entered a melee fight, we can only attack recklessly. Soon they won't be able to fight anymore, probably. Moving around joyfully, Iki, Sujuyo, Gaijin's appearance, Fu Akariga looked with envy, casually, noticed Mikoto and asked. With a bothered expression, Mikoto turned her gaze downwards. There were no small fries for Kokuya to aim at. He aimed for the main body. Realizing the meaning of that, in the moment Akariga returned his gaze to the headquarters of the enemy, the large movable fortress Gan. Forced up violently, starting from the central part of the movable fortress Mukid, unable to withstand the slash, numerous blocks were blown off, exploding in the air. It seems like it has begun. As they could see, the pavis on his left hand was pushed up, Kokuyo was standing in that stance, right hand held a black-colored lance. In that posture, he moved towards the back of the Mukid, which has been divided into parts, this time charging to split the front to the back. In a panic due to the hit to the top half of the body, the fragments attacked but, without the feel of pain or itch, crossing over Mukid in a few kilometers, Kokuya divided it as if cutting through B.U.T.Tur with a B.U.T.Tur knife. Oh dear. With this, it's unlikely I will be able to reveal my all, T/L, or true strength. It seems to be so. Mikoto agreed with a smile. Afterwards there's Hime-sama's issue on her side. Akariga S.H.I plusfted his gaze to the direction where Hyuki was. Utsuho and Tsu are there too, that sort of small thing won't be a problem I think. Famu. I think so too, but the opponent is a player, we mustn't underestimate the tricks they can use. That is so. Mikoto nodded as she agreed. Akariga turned his gaze towards the direction facing them. A/N, mostly this side. Wouldn't it become a match, is what was expected, but, yes, it did not turn into a match, laugh. Chapter 33, Vampire Princess is chasing Oh no. Shadow. The shadow is stuck to her. Tien, reminder, this girl is one of poachers that escape, not Chrome, in fact, all of her companions are rolling miserably on her feet. She is the only one remaining. Please, have mercy, next time, will be, success. Well, that's good already, because I already made up my mind I would like to eat minotaur meat. The request I made for them was as simple as that, but they did not even grant it. It is disappointing. When I touch her trembling cheeks, I feel wet. She's cute, she's crying. Take my finger to her neck and stand shallow nails. Poke. Foo, interesting. Era. Tien, mean like huh or oh, there is a sound of water. A vulgar sound such as tea pouring. I turned my line of sight downwards, a big pool of water was made. Aha, have you leaked out, foo, are not you too afraid of me? I will give you so much Marie. Era, do you want to be caught in the neck like a vulgar boy rolling over there? Oh yeah, behave like a good girl. Even so, you cannot be saved. From the beginning I planned to deal with all of you. You have failed me for the last time, poacher. The moment she heard my words, a small green eyes spread apart. The trembling lips try to speech the words. Fascination, whether it is a beggar or a screech, I do not want to hear dirty words before meals. I silenced her with magic. The green-colored eyes are very beautiful. Red hair is slightly sore and unworthy, but she is still a beautiful person for a person hide behind the scenes. It is a pity that her emotions have disappeared from facial expressions with my enchanted magic, but I will do it so pleasant from now, so it's okay. Become drowning, I set my fang on her neck and graze it. I brush the warm liquid overflowing with spill. Very sweet, taste numb to the brain. It is wonderful. The effect of enchantment ends at the moment of biting. Otherwise, I cannot enjoy such a reaction. There was resistance for only a few seconds. After that, she abandons her thoughts. Hi. Yufu, fu. Hi Itsu, I will make her blood of mine. She began to leak meaningless words. For me who is a vampire, blood sucking is the best pleasure. Even blood from this girl who did not finish my request. Though men are garbage. And Su. A haya, hi. A wa. Na, and Su. Kufu, hi Tsu. This girl laughs. The expressions that the child whose mind is broken by the pleasure I give is divided into three broadly. Every child is so cute that I want to take it slowly and thoroughly. Continue to give the best pleasure until the end of your life. I'll destroy you with all my love. Ahahaha. Feeling, fue, I want more. I feel more comfortable, more. Good, it's okay. I am not scared of anything anymore. The world is beautiful. It's more. I can be dead. Good, even if I'm gone. I love you. Elsie-sama. Elsie as a girl's name is of Hebrew origin, and Elsie means G.O.D is my oath. Elsie is a variant form of Elizabeth, Hebrew. This time the name is easy to guess. Thank you Google search, thank you. I love you. I will catch the delicate body that is sticking properly and I will do it as she wants. Touching the body with an open hand, I got a sweet reaction every time. She is very cute. I can only hear the chirping sound, her laugh, and my own breath. Wauuuwa, N8 Su. Han. N, Guu, being like a couple, we indulge in action. She dedicates everything to me, I will love her all, only a little sweet deed. She choose to give me her own life, not living for the rest of it. Whispering to call my name till the end, I love you. I have such an unbearable feeling that I has sucked all the drops. I made everything of the growing beating forever to mine. Phew, she was completely dried out. Okay, you are really beautiful. I stopped talking, I kissed her cheek and I let her go. My blood reading is not so strong but it enough to digs at least memories of several days. I am interested in why they failed. For sure, why did not Minotaur's meat get available, for sure? If a vulgar man was in the way of getting the meat, he had to pay it by get tear up properly, right? Era. What? This. Girl. Tien, era mean huh, in this girl memory, she was watching the child with the telephoto magic. Lightly pointed ears and tusks, red eyes are unmistakable, a similar proof of me. Silver hair vampire, she is too, she is a can walk under the sun vampire. I loved her at first sight. That little tusk. I want to lick it. I will feel sick if I take a deep breath as it is buried in her silver hair. Put a fang against a small neck, what should you look like if I suck it up? Laugh? Cry? Do you feel relieved? I am concerned, I am so concerned my chest and the back of my heart get hotter. The body is numb and a feverish breath is leaked. Cute, cute, what a child she is. She is legendary vampire walking under the sun. I have not heard about her, that cuteness is also legendary. I had finally found what I was looking for forever. Her silver hair will surely s.h.I plus any with my blonde hair. If I sink in the bed with two of, how can I become a painting? Servant call your order. This child will be my bride. It is unnecessary to temporarily relate like a child rolling on her feet. She will be mine forever. My only cute girl. If you decide so, notify all the servants. I will skip my heart to my cute little people who are connected by a blood contract. About the future bride. Share memories and burn her figure to the hearts of my servants. Have you heard, did you see, I will make that child my wife. Search, find her, catch her. Oh, that's right. If you dare taste, I will tear you thousands piece, got it. I wonder what kind of dress you are going to put on. I should choose something that suits all the time for such love. Of course only I allow to see all of you, it is forbidden. Hee. I am looking forward to it, even if it's fun. Vander S.N.A.T.C.H. Get ready. Talk to my dog and shake the dress. I will go out and prepare for picking up. Well, it will be a lot of fun and I will be busy now. Part 18, the one behind the scenes, literal translation of T.I.Tle, the stagehand behind the black curtain, translator's notes. Before you read this chapter, I'd like to warn you that the author uses some kendo terms which I explained, somewhat, in the footnotes. I've numbered my footnotes this time because it could get a bit confusing. I have left some of the J.A. Pain's text because I'm still cleaning up this draft and it makes it easier to check if the TL is correct. It's quite an exciting chapter. I have started reading the next chapter. Hopefully I can churn out a new one soon. Initial draft and translation by Kyuuketsu by the awesome senpai. Please do not repost without permission. Hyuki and Otomaru, even though there was a distance of approximately 10 feet between the two of them, both of them shortened the distance between them in an instant. The reason is that Hyuki held the sinner of Rose Jill de Rice in a basic kendo posture, HA.S.SO, *1, relaxed. Otomaru wields the 2 Mitsurugi scimitar and held it in the Triudan stance, 2, showing his scorn and the fact that he's got the upper hand. For your information, thanks to that person my status is almost the same as the current you. The conditions are fair, that is to say, your real strength is inferior and won't stand a chance against me. Hearing the unexpected provocation from Otomaru, Hyuki confirmed her opponent's status with a doubtful look, then she opened her eyes wider. Just like his words, Otomaru's current status was boosted by pet fusion, almost similar to her status after fusing with the divine beast nine-tailed fox Atsuho. Her MP was superior but her opponent's HP is more than hers. Furthermore, Hyuki was surprised by the text fusion, the G.O.D Crusher Fenrir. The G.O.D Crusher Fenrir. Wasn't that an event boss that can't be tamed? No, it's possibly an underhanded trick that's temporary. If it was normal, only the inhabitants of Imperial Crimson knows the way to exceed the limits of the base values. As the owner, it's unlikely for him to be able to have a status that deviates from a player's level. Actually, the pets that were summoned from the movable fortress didn't have this sort of status values. In that case, the reason for the abnormality of the status is you said Ainokata, 3. Could it be related to that person Lubbock mentioned earlier, the G.O.D of this world? That's right. Ainokata, polite, he/she, is a G.O.D. The beginning of everything. I would like you to share more details about that. Ha. If you were to defeat me, I'll talk about it. Well, such a thing will never happen even if the heavens and earth were toppled though. With a mocking laughter, Otomaru kicked the ground. At the same time, Hyuki moved forward. Jiakin. At the point where the blades intersect, sparks flew. FNN. If it's about who will tend to come out ahead in a clash between our strengths, as expected, Otomaru excels with his body weight and strength. Otomaru chased after Hyuki, who flew from the attack, drawing a spiral with his twin blades, using the blade skill Itaki/Razor Wind, while also adding the lighting element on the blade. The sword's pressure formed a tornado, swooping towards the floating body of Hyuki. Hyuki's skirt fluttered, her small body hovered in the air. And then, sparks that raised its head like snakes drew closer from 4 directions. HAAAAA. Together with a scream, Hyuki rotated in the air while she brandished Jill de Rice to split the tornado and the lighting attack into 2 with a single cut. Before Hyuki could set her foot on the ground after she was released from restriction, Otomaru rushed in like a cannon that's been shot from the catapult. Against the release of vigorous direct attacks, Hyuki intercepted with a horizontal sword swipe. In addition to the impact on landing, Hyuki accelerated every muscle in the body from stillness in a sudden, it was a K6 move which had been learned from the Beast King. Because of Hyuki's originally explosive power, it transformed into a spiraling power. Under her feet, the ground erupted. 2. The sword and scimitar clashed for the second time. Harukani, Owamawata, Keka. But, this time the sword did not lose in terms of power, and the conclusion came with a speed that far exceeds the opponent. Usugai, Asari, Yukabunda. Because of the unforeseen result, Otomaru had a fluid U.S.tiered expression. TCH. Otomaru, who had the intention to activate his skill again to cover up his blunder, blocked his opponent's attack with his stance, but was kicked by Hyoki till he flew. K. Unable to withstand the force of the kick, in a panic he repositioned at a distance to bear the nausea. Contrary to his expectations, Hyoki placed the Gilde rice on her shoulder, saying UN as she thought. As I thought, it's the same. HN? What is your attack pattern? It's the same as Animaru-san's. Basically it's the continuous use of skills, with normal attacks in between. At times when skills can't be used you use your strength to attack, depending on whether you can make it. HP. So what? If I took my time in killing the opponent, their HP wouldn't decrease. Hearing that, she tilted her head. Dang kaida Hatenshuro, that's if we're in a game where pain does nothing, isn't it? If this was the real world I don't think such logic would apply. Hitting the tender spots will cause pain, if your field of vision is blocked you'd go mad from the sense of distance. Actually, that was why Animaru-san was defeated. Well, if the opponent were to continuously use skill, causing me to lose, it would be me suffering because of my own mistakes. For you that don't even know how to use the basics, I think you failed at an early grade. Stop speaking such crap. What can a loser without any strength come up with? As long as there is a difference in absolute strength, such things are irrelevant. Is that so? Then from this point onwards I'll defeat you without the use of skills. Next, shall we have a showdown? Do it if you can, you bluffing B.A.S.T.A.R.D. Along with a roar, Otomaru's two scimitars were swung in all directions, continuously slicing with the scimitar skill. Hyoki retreated while dodging, sidestepping, and warding it off. Ha! Only know how to run. This girly boy. T/N, or androgynous person, written as woman man. He bared his fangs and pelted her with jeers. Hyoki didn't get particularly agitated. She aimed for the gap in between the skills, when the body is still stiff after the end of the skill. Otomaru dug his heels just before the skill ends. Oswakakuro, to swoop down on. At that, Hyoki thrust like a falling star, swooping down on him. S.H.I+T when he was going to dodge Hyoki's sword that was aimed towards his throat at the shortest distance, the stiffness became a fatal delay. From that point onwards, dodging it was impossible. Katana Secret Skill Break. It's a skill which wards or destroys the opponent's weapon when your weapon clashes with your opponent's. In exchange, the user's weapon will also be applied an appropriate burden. 10. LV99. However, there's N.O.body in the server that doesn't know the weapon Hyoki possessed. The Gilde rice could even be called a divine sword, being almost the highest grade longsword that was miraculously succeeded in being reinforced 10 times. When that was compared with the Mikazuki scimitar, even if it was also a LVL-99 weapon, the standard was lower. New. Reflecting. Kensei, going strong. Probably as a reflex, Hyoki's left arm extended towards the Gilde rice. However, it wasn't the end. Otomaru had two scimitars, in short, now he still has the Mikazuki scimitar in his left hand. Clavicle/collarbone. Otomaru, who was going to confirm his victory, the sides of mouth curved upwards, setting his eyes on Hyoki's white collarbone, he waved his left hand. Just kidding. Hyoki, who noticed her messed up posture and immediately straightened herself, extending both of her hands towards the approaching sword. Pan. With a sound like a clap, Otomaru's blade was stopped. Saint Sword Skill, S.H.I plus Rahatari, stopping the sword with bare hands. Earlier it was used by Animaru, and it was the reason Hyoki lost. B.A.S.T.A.R.D. You said you wouldn't use any skill. Hyoki smiled at Otomaru's protest. Sorry. That was a lie. Or rather, don't sweat the small stuff. Surprised, Otomaru turned his head to the back. And then, entwined with the ivy, Gilde rice flew towards him and Otomaru was pierced. Before he could dodge. Guha. As Otomaru was shaky from coughing up blood, Hyuki easily confiscated the Mikazuki scimitar from his hands. I extended my left hand toward Jill de Rice, which flew earlier, to display a gap in my defense, which helps me identify Otomaru's attack pattern. Not only that, I was secretly releasing the Steel Rose's Iron Maiden's Ivy, entangling it with my hands. This enables the sword to be pulled towards me, killing two birds with one stone. As I thought, you don't know the basics and how to use them. Hyuki pressed the Mikazuki scimitar she S.N.A.T.C. head earlier against Otomaru's nape, and earnestly stated her thoughts. It seems like the winner has been decided over there. From a distance, I returned my gaze towards the end of the mobile fortress that's ablaze. Once again, I plunged the Mikazuki scimitar, causing Otomaru to make sounds filled with anguish. Even though it has yet to reach the red zone of the HP bar or the yellow zone, due to the large amount of blood loss, it seems like he has lost the will to fight. That is why the feeling of game and reality differs. Then, the fight is over, it's my victory. 8. As such, it is time for you to fulfill your promise of talking about the truth behind Ainokata, that person. Otomaru answered my question with a glare filled with hatred. Who would tell someone like you, a coward? Well, it's certainly a response I expected to hear from him. 1000 tame. Rather, calling me a coward when he's the one who brought more than 1,000 monsters, ensuring that I couldn't receive reinforcements by sending us into this isolated duel S.P.A.C. Also to fuse with an untamable monster. I really don't want to bring up who is the coward here. Even if I were to say so, it's probably futile, isn't it? This fellow's moves, anything that doesn't go according to his plan, the cause is always his opponent. Well, if you say don't want to say it, I'll do my best to make you want to say it. While saying that, I drew out Jill de Rice, switching to the Mikazuki scimitar and stabbed him. As I was doing that, I lightly twisted the blade. HP. Yup, at this point it's time to let the HP bar reach yellow. HP. But, seen in this way, even though our HP increase, we are still human with flesh. If we are hit, we will weaken. I'll also have to be alert of it. Gyaaaaa. So, to induce pain with repeated attacks, I pushed it into Otomaru's right feet. It's bad of me, but I'll be taking back Jill de Rice. Don't mind me, I just didn't want to dirty it with your blood. In exchange I'll return you the Mikazuki scimitars. Afterwards 5. I quickly opened my S.P.A.C. inventory and prepared 5 more swords. The swords that appeared in the air, with their pointed end facing down, stood around me. Guman torture. Unfortunately I am not knowledgeable about tortures and such. For now, I'll cut you up until you start talking, I'll even do it like how Ryukuro did. 7. Even if you died I can bring you back to life and continue, so don't worry. Wa 1. Towards Otomaru, who opened his eyes wide as he forgot the pain, she wordlessly stabbed with the first sword. Ga. HP as expected from a pet union with the G.O.D Crusher Fenrir. Your HP hasn't dropped to red yet too. Speaking of which, when is this dual S.P.A.C. going to be released? As I thought there's no other ways than killing my opponent, huh? Stop. I lose. I admit my loss. I'll tell you anything, / signal give up. In the instant I heard Otomaru's I give up, the dual S.P.A.C. opened and that unique pressure disappeared. I see, it's this sort of structure. As long as the loser admitted their loss, the dual S.P.A.C. ends. If that was the case it would have been better if I said I lose. The S.P.A.C. would have collapsed, then I can call Tenge and beat the H.E.L.L out of Otomaru. 2. But since it's too late now, I pointed the second sword at Otomaru. So, what is the true form of the mastermind? That is. / to act suspiciously, to behave in a strange way. How are you today? Behaving in a strange manner, Otomaru was going to say something, at that moment. Princess, please be careful. The sound of Utsuho's warning surprised her, and caused her to move backwards with a leap, at the same time a throwing dagger abruptly stabbed Otomaru's throat. HP. However, for that degree of attack, Otomaru, who is currently in a pet union with the G.O.D Crusher Fenrir, in terms of damage percent, is yet to be a problem. From the looks of it, it's a bit of decrease in HP, perhaps entering the critical red zone, but then. Danmatsuma death agony. Instantly, Otomaru released a scream that sounded like a deathly cry of agony as he tore his chest. His state couldn't be compared to how he was earlier. This cannot do. It seems like the G.O.D Crusher Fenrir is about to run wild. Please step away, princess. In the instant Utsuho said it, Otomaru shouted while the G.O.D Crusher Fenrir appeared from his chest, wrapping him in flames, both of them burnt to a crisp. While I was dumbfounded when it left a bowl-like shape on the ground due to the remaining high temperature, I heard the unpleasant voice of unfamiliar people behind my back. HP, it's hopeless. Going berserk while the HP is red, there's still room for improvement. In a panic, I turned while throwing away the sword I held, and prepared the Jill de Rice. Within my vision, someone that's unlikely to appear leaped in. 1-8. From the looks of it, it was an 18-year-old youth. Thin eyes and short, black-haired, carrying a full backpack, under a loose coat is an APR.O.N, no matter how you see it, it was a man dressed in merchant style. Showing such an unsuitable appearance at this place, it was an appearance that I was unusually familiar with. Kajiro-san. I asked to confirm, and Kajiro-san seemed to nod with a delighted expression, formerly one of the fellow guild member, with nondescript features and seemed as if he was present yet isn't there. 4. Someone who pursued A.S.S.A.S.Synation techniques to the limit, certainly the feared unnotable peddler, the legendary merchant that has the second name, selfless devotion. / rendezvous, tryst, lovers, meeting, secret, date. Yes, it has been a while. Aju-san. That we could meet once again makes me so happy I can shed tears, but now my body is serving another master, and I cannot enjoy lovers' meeting time with my beloved princess. Lastly, Kajiro gave a forlorn look. How should I say it, he's still doing that Ajusama and servant's secret tender PAS.Zion setting, 5, that they used to roleplay at the guild. / employer. Other master, is that referring to the same master of Otomaru? Beg your pardon, no matter how much Ajusama wants to know, I can't tell. Famote, even though his appearance is like this, when he drew a line, he will absolutely keep to it, just as always. Listen / key. And, something came to mind suddenly, so I tried to ask about it. Speaking of which, Kuro, the Oni-san from the Rabbitman tribe said that the Azu-like staff, was bought from the weapon merchants. Ah. That stu.r.dy Oni-san. Certainly I sold it. Famote, he indirectly confirmed that they're both the same person. As of now, for the sake of renewing our friends.h.I+p, may I hear about various things. My apologies, my master ordered me to hurry and return. Really, I shall have my leave, Aju-san. With the apology given sincerely, Kajiro's figure blended with the background, slowly fading away. This is his specialty, perfect concealment. Wait. Without pause, his appearance was completely erased. While watching Mikoto and the rest in high spirits as I returned, I had the feeling like I almost grasped something and yet it slipped away. I sighed. For now, a new character, Hyuki's X, is introduced. 9/12. About the mastermind setting, I copied it from a certain famous work, it will be noticed so the occupation, appearance, and name is changed. Nato's footnote where everything researched is explained in an unnecessarily long-winded way, some sort of posture in kendo. When you pose like this the hand seems to form a / shape, which is, probably, why it's called the ha.s.su. Read more at Wikipedia https://in.wikipedia.org/wiki/ha.s.s%c5% 8d no kami the most basic posture in kendo that lets you have a balanced attack and defense. See also, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/ch%sign c5%sign abd-no-kama-e-anokata is a polite way to refer to he or she. Since I don't know the gender and I don't have a perfect way to translate this term into English, I think I best leave it in hiragana. For example of this word being left as it is, see Detective Conan's Ainokata, the boss of the black organization which is yet to be revealed. There but not there, like, hiding in plain sight. A.S.S.Sin's Creed style? The setting for a narrative or fictional or dramatic account. K***, a power/technique mentioned in earlier chapters. I do not know who Kuro** is, but the author censored the last syllable probably due to copyright reasons. It's probably a reference to a character from a different series that tortures people. If you do know, please share it in the comments so I can update this. The author wrote it as English, real black O? Real Kuro? W equals? Mato Senpai mentioned this phrase here can also be read like this. Alternate translation, then, the fight between man and woman is over, well, more or less, I am a woman now, so it's my victory as a woman. Since it is confusing, I decided to translate it much more literally and leave the alternate interpretation in the footnotes. The kanji for fight is written as male and female, but it could be interpreted as showdown as well. It was a little confusing for me when I first saw the sentence. I don't want you all to join in with the confusing sentence interpretation as well. T/N, after reading so much about kendo, I feel like learning the two-sword style. It sounds so manly and deadly. Anyone willing to fund a two-sword style lesson or volunteer as a teacher, for free? Nah, just joking. If I have that sort of funding, I'd go to j.a.pan and learn how to speak j.a.pains fluently. Next, chapter 91, as a vampire princess, I will not give up. I get damage, I'm totally lost. Elsie, while treating my own injuries, I'm thinking about the result. Loss of the body and magical power isn't a big deal. Rather, my body has no wounds. The serious damage I received was my self-made monsters made by collecting materials in various places. Everything was relatively reasonable, and they were useful because those children always listen to what I say, but I lost all of them in this battle. I wonder if I should be satisfied because you're still here with me. Banders.N.A.T.C.H. When I call his name, Banders.N.A.T.C.H. shakes the two heads like a dog in happy. Hehe, you are a pretty cute child. I am comforting stroking his fluffy fur, and I sit on Banders.N.A.T.C.H. The sun will rise soon, so we will need to rest in the appropriate shade. Hehehe, I enjoyed myself. I touch my torn clothes. I broke my favorite dress and still couldn't get what I wanted, but we meet each other and I even suck her blood. Of course, I wanted her to be mine without forever, but unexpected events overlapped, so it can't be helped. Unexpected strength, unexpected relief, unexpected hidden weapon. And were they unexpectedly grown up? Maybe she had too much innocence, she might have been too careless. With such unexpected events overlap, I couldn't eat her completely. That's a pity. But that was also interesting. Innocent girls are also nice, but girls who have realized their charm are also very nice. Licking the edge of my lip, I can still feel the sweetness of her blood remain. Even just licking a little bit, the taste of dense magical powers fills my mouth more than anything I felt before. I have become wanting her more and more. Argento vampire. I will get that silver vampire. Even when facing my unreasonable wish, she is really beautiful when she try to resist. Ads by Google equals window.ads by Google. Push, this world is covered with unreasonable. No matter how hard you try, despite what you want, there are times when your wish doesn't come true. And the weaklings are crushed unreasonably. It's horrible and unreasonable, but that was the rule of natural. The strongs will dominate the weaks. If the weaks want to survive, they must gain strength to resist the strongs. If their strength isn't enough, they must prepare a tactic to gain advantage. I, too, at that time. No, I'm fine. TN, LC's past that even at lastest chapter still not reveal. It is also common that the past. Said time will not return. I swallowed the meaningless thing I just remember, and I entrusted my body to Banders.N.A.T.C.H. Waving his heads and tails happily, Banders.N.A.T.C.H. start running. The fresh and cold night breeze had become a little warmth, made me realize the harbinger of the annoying warm morning. First let's restore magical power, change clothes, and then we will prepare again. The more I hope to resume soon, the less confident I have in my power. In order to be perfect, it is necessary to make appropriate efforts and preparations. And that troublesome magic artifact, now it even more difficult to win again her. As I put my hands on my mouth, the shape of my wet lips was a smile. I'm smiling, I'm not laughing, I'm just smiling. How strange, I'm happy. Being satisfied with that fact, I was buried myself in the fur of Banders.N.A.T.C.H. I will sleep a bit. Banders.N.A.T.C.H, please continue hide in the shade. Sleep is good for recovering magical power. Let's take a nap as I can't move while the sun is out. I close my eyes while feeling the smell of the beast and the shallow tremor. Because I'm really tired, I went into sleep without having dream. Next. Part 19, Lion vs Tiger. Please and support the original J.A. Payne's web novel writer. Draft by Nato. Thanks for the translation quality checking, Senpai caught so many misses, ha ha ha. It's the finals. Beside the part of the Crest Kingdom's St. Beast's Hill, there's a plateau that's been isolated by a vertical cliff like it was completely cut away by a knife. The shape is similar to the Table Mountain, T/N, a mountain in Africa, from the original world. To put it frankly, there is something that looked like a whole cake, with a feel as if it was sliced and taken. The area surrounding above the stage looked as if it was punched into a wasteland. Green plants grew wildly, seemingly a naturally thick jungle. Somehow, when you look at it, it seemed like a place that looks like a decorated cake. And even though it's unrelated, before I die I want to eat entire whole cakes. At least 10 of them. At the center of the white and flat 100m square rock nearby, whether it is for a praiseworthy dance performance or to hold a fight, this time it is the stage of the deciding match for the nomination of the Beast King. Speaking of which, initially yesterday was the semi-final fight between Ravan vs Cyril, and afterward due to the real Cyril being saved, Cyril had announced he was unable to fight and defaulted. Ravan was quickly selected for the final decisive fight. Did you do something? I was viewed very suspiciously by Ravan. Of course, I didn't do anything, or rather I've helped, so I denied it with all my strength. Don't worry. Since I didn't do anything shady. I gave them a thumb up. Speaking of which, what sort of not shady things did you do? Asked Asmina. What should I say to deceive them? So it turns out there's a player who is breaking the rules, and when I exposed that plot, it seems like he was someone who I might have known in the past, and I was one-sidedly stalked as he held a grudge. When he tried to attack us he was beaten and self-destruct. In the end, I met a guild member from the olden days, but it seems like he is currently one of the enemy's member and before he could be captured he escaped, to put it simply. I was attacked by an acquaintance who I can't even recall the face of. It was dangerous but somehow I dealt with it, and thereupon I clashed with my past, meeting with a man I was very close to long ago, but when I tried to deepen the talk with him, he had escaped. That sounded different from what I thought. And why are Asmina's eyes sparkling so much? It's a love triangle trouble, isn't it? As expected from you, Hyuki-sama. Let's talk about that in more details. Yup, the interpretation is completely different from what I was thinking. Literal translation, yup, I've perfectly mistaken the input command. And afterward, I dodged Asmina who was pestering me like an energetic love aid. Well, she just want to make friends with girls who are in love, but in her case she sorta has an illness, so she don't want to be lumped together with her. I returned to the castle only to find out that somehow the information that Kajiro-san is now on the enemy's side has already reached them. Wait, there was only me, Kajiro-san and Utsuho, thus through the process of elimination I know who is the culprit. Everyone was welcoming me as if they didn't want to attract my anger. No, that secret torrid love affair between Aju-san and servant thing is only Kajiro's delusional setting. Naturally, there's no such relations. H.I+P between us, okay. And no matter how many times I repeatedly denied such a thing, they would respond with "We understand the princess's painful feelings," sending me a soft, understanding smile while completely missing my point. No, even for me, a normal merpage player, I think it is right to roleplay according to my appearance. However, if you bring up that it is reality, but for them, this really is reality, rather than complex, the realization's bad effect came out confusing or maybe strange. It can be said that he became an enemy that's more formidable than Lubbock, that Kajiro-san. With that said, today is finally the finals for the selection of the next Beast King. Winning from Demon Wolves Feeding Grounds tournament stage is Ravan, the next Lion Tribe Patriarch, the current Beast King's student. On the other side, who won the fight at the Earth Dragon's resting place is the strong Tigerkin's Patriarch Strong Arm Akiran, who is as strong as he is rumored to be, which raises his chances of success. Since it'll be a dignified fight, Asmina and other tens of the Mycos from different tribe dedicated a dance for the sacred beasts. In front of such an enthralling dance, the spectators were spellbound. It was at this time someone spoke. "Oh, Princess." Kuraz.H.I+ alerted from the sky said he was hungry, so he seemed to have caught a good living being, but he asked if it's fine to eat it. Atsuho, who is still fused with me in Pet Union, said it very casually. That is because he did not bring any food. They caught some local food and thought it would be fine, but wait. By no means it is a human, right? They are not human, she immediately replied with a denial, setting my worries to rest. Then feel free, do as you like. Sigh. It seems like the master of this land is a holy beast, but food is food. Unable to digest what was added to the end of that sentence, I switched my attention towards the area around the stone stage, frantically tilting my head upwards to see. My eyesight as a vampire allows me to see things from far away, so I could see the winged tiger with wings as large as 10 meters, one of the 7 star beasts of calamity, Kuraz.H.I+ with a happy appearance as it stood in the air, holding the buck that's almost 5 meters long from its horn, covered in a blue light. Verwawawa. It's bad. No matter what it is, to eat the sacred beasts. Release. Release. Throw it away. Throw. Kuraz.H.I+ made a face as if he did not want to do so. He said, "Could I eat at least a feet? I wonder, since it is a sacred beast, so wouldn't it grow back? I should confirm it." I commanded Atsuho to do so. The holy beast shook its head. Seems like it doesn't. It seems like it doesn't. Oh, I, the lord of this land. If you swear fealty to our princess, I'll let you go as you are. At Atsuho's suggestion, or rather coercion. The holy beast nods its head. As you heard. Kuraz.H.I+, this fellow is Hyuki's retainer now. There are times this occurs. Kuraz.H.I+, this fellow is a lesser being than Hyuki's retainer, and can't be treated as feed to sate your hunger. Let it go. With that said, Kuraz.H.I+ reluctantly returned the sacred beast to its original spot. So close, it almost entered Kuraz.H.I+'s stomach as if it's a snack. If this was exposed, it would become something worthy of respect. I secretly feel relieved. Meanwhile, the Myco's dance was over, and Asmina returned with her makeup and Beast Tribe Myco dress on. How was it, Hyuki-sama? How was my dance? Be beautiful, it was very beautiful. Secretly, because of the commotion, I stopped watching halfway. Thank you. If only the sacred beasts were watching happily, I'd be glad. Alright. At that time the sacred beast was in a state as if it may live or it may die, so it wasn't the right place for it to be happy. But I'm not telling her that. And also by chance, it became my follower. Whilst forcing a smile, cold sweat ran down my back as I nodded. The lengthy ceremony finished and the long-awaited finals begin. Ravan gazed at the tall man before him, the Tigerman tribe's leader Strong Arm Akiran. It's probably a mismatch for a man, but he was actually a flowery, charming person. Without excessive useless muscles on him, his arms, legs, chest, shoulders, hips were protected with the minimal amount of defensive equipment on, and he still strikes an imposing pose. Even when he stood silently without his fighting spirit, he was releasing a strong pressure. Aged around 25 years old, with blonde hair and a masculine face that shows a daring smile. While he had shown his weak points, he had a gleam of danger in his eyes, revealing his charm and the danger his pose. As the referees were finished with the match instructions, Akiran started talking suddenly. I heard about your teacher, he is planning to use Imperial Crimson as AS.H.I+eld. No, to become its Virginia S.Sal state to leave the Cress Federation. At the mention of teacher, he pointed at the current Beast King. Ah, it's just as you said. To be honest, there was no meaning behind the Crescent Lunar cooperation anyway. Does the Tigerman tribe oppose this? Half of them do. It's obvious to leave that federation which meddles needlessly. However, it's not acceptable to lower our status by becoming Imperial Crimson's dogs. Akiran said firmly as he shook his head. At these words, the audience that had held their saliva during the tension raised a commotion, glancing towards the sovereign of Imperial Crimson who is sitting on the chair at the N.O.Ability seats. As I expected, even at the sacred grounds, a separate tent is set up, but the person it concerns had not changed his expression at all. Of course, it was a substitute I.Toot, and only sat there calmly. Has it been confirmed that Imperial Crimson's leader completely had no interest in directly ruling us? In reality, Amisha became a republic and is developing further. Peeking at the direction where his sister is, towards the person with a small build under the hood, Ravan answered. Hyuki must have sensed the glance. With a expression and she tilted her head. That innocent figure made Ravan smile unconsciously. That choice existed at the Federation establishment period when we didn't have power, we now don't need another person's power. Isn't it our turn to win our freedom with our own strength, and make a country by the Beastkin and for the Beastkin? Akiran's words were filled with emotion of his own tribes and the whole tribe's feelings. Ravan almost nodded along, but there was something he felt he couldn't agree with. It's useless. Behind a fighter there is always someone weaker. Are you going to ask them to fight too? To sacrifice the weaker ones, that way of thinking will force us to reach the limits of what we will do sooner or later. It's because we want to protect them that we need AS.H.I+Eld. Also, this world has many sorts of people in it other than the Beastkin. Your way of thinking is nothing but copying the holy teachings that discriminate against the Beastkin. Staring at Ravan who had the same golden hair, Akiran thought the words over only to shake his head with a sense of disappointment. We're both not conceding whether our way of thinking is right. Ravan of the Lion Man tribe. Let's settle this. Ah, I agree. Tigerman tribe leader Akiran. Waiting for the signal to begin, the two of them split into each side of the arena. They took a low stance and glared at each other. In that moment, the sacred grounds air which was cool was suffused with heat and heavy tension. While late, when the referees gave the sign to begin, the both of them moved at the same time. As the both of them were Rus.H.I+Ng against each other so quickly that their figures were blurred, at the top speed, Akiran's kick went towards Ravan's face. Guarding against that move with a hand, Ravan launched his counter with his other hand. His fist hit the abdomen right on the spot, and the large body that received the impact flew behind, is what he saw, but Akiran placed both of his hands on the floor and spun. Akiran stood with a smooth movement, looked like he did not receive any damage at all. You're quite good. Saying it as if he was happy from the bottom of his heart, Akiran S.H.I+F'd his left and right shoulder joints, producing loud cracking sounds. Suddenly Ravan realized that this man had intentionally received his H.I.T earlier in order to understand his strength. Also, a tremble ran along his back as his heart beats really loudly. Akiran's strength awakens something sleeping inside Ravan. As if he realized the change, Akiran's smile widened. All right, we've said our greetings. Let's continue. Saying this, Akiran prepared his stance. Ravan had the same smile as Akiran, readying his stance for the confrontation. Draft, Nato checking, Madaspasi Senpai equals W equals, Chapter 20. The clouds cover the moon, the wind scatters the flowers. Original writer's notes. With this chapter, the Beast King arc ends. To stick with it for so long, thank you very much. Translator's notes, by the original writer's books. Search, 1. Ravan rushed towards Akiran directly like an arrow. With an arrogant look which shows he'll take the hit, Akiran lowered his back to prepare against Ravan's attack. A series of thrusts and kicks was launched by Ravan. Akiran received it using both of his arm and lower leg, but of course, he couldn't counter the pressure completely and was pushed back by several meters. I can win. Towards the defensive Akiran, Ravan had thought to follow up with another attack, but, since he didn't breathe for the past few attacks, paused to catch a breather. However, this pause did not escape Akiran's attention. In a blink of an eye, towards the Ravan who stopped, he shrunk the distance between them and let out a straight punch, putting his entire weight behind it. In the S.P.A.ce of a hair strand, his fist said Ravan's face as he dodged, his skin burnt by the force of the punch. As expected from strong arm. While moving forward half a step as it is, Ravan danced in the air. While jumping, he added spin to his right heel, a bold strike, catching Akiran's face with a whirlwind kick. Gakin. Sound of metal, unlike body made of flesh, they made a metallic sound as they collided, bouncing back like bullets. Towards the figure of Akiran who had raised two of his hands, Ravan pressed the side of his abdominal parts. Just before the whirlwind kick, he crossed his arms to protect against it, on top of that, catching his knee. Neither a gap or negligence. He's certainly a wild tiger. As if responding to the enthusiasm radiated by Akiran, Ravan's body felt as if it started heating up inside. The feelings ran through him as if his blood boiled. The man in front of me is strong. If I were honest, he may be exceedingly stronger than me. In that case, I will have to use all of my strength, as I want to defeat the one stronger than me. With that urge, his body moved. On the stone stage at the sacred grounds, two men with their power and skills, fought without letting the other side take a step in for the sake of their ideology. Neither side focused on offense or defense, mutually they changed from offense and defense in turns. As if they were dancing, they fought on the stone stage. Sometimes yells filled with fighting spirit were made as punches, kicks, and falls were made, and those shouts echoed the sounds of the hand-to-hand combat to the surrounding, filling the atmosphere around the area, causing the air to vibrate with tenseness. The beastkin standing around the area, eyes were open wide, ears perked, not a single cough, as if they thought their chests were blocked, watching the fierce fight closely as they did not know what sort of conclusion will occur. Ravan Nyisama, he will win, right? Next to me, Asmina asked, in a tone as if she wanted to know from me, a soft murmur. I think she tried to consider from the condition of Ravan's body, turning pale and chasing the figure of Ravan with her eyes. In terms of speed, Ravan is faster. In terms of power and experience, the other side is superior, is what it feels like. Firstly, I gave an objective view. Yet as the words came out of my mouth, Asmina asked again with her clinging eyes. That is, whether they will end up with a draw, is what you're asking. No, while I still had hesitation in my chest, Utsuho quickly stated her conclusion. It is the youngster's defeat. As if she understood the meaning from my silence, Asmina patiently endured, and continued waiting. What a strong girl. That's why I, too, honestly answered her. If he had 5 more years, no, 3 years, then he might have been able to defeat him. If it is the him right now, he will be defeated due to the time limit, his own strength and the differences in experience. Most importantly, that is something which the two people who are fighting probably know, which is probably why Ravan, who understood this, released the technique to recover from death, and then based on how he's going to retaliate against his opponent, you can roughly estimate who will be the winner. Before I could finish my words, a big development occurred to the fight on top of the stone stage. Akiran's sharp yell caused a stir, shortening the distance in one go. At the same time, he drew closer with left and right 2-stage thrusts. With the weight of his hips, it was a continuous attack that used his whole body's force. At the suddenness of Ravan, who brushed the attack off with his palms, Akiran sent out a flurry of kicks at G.O. speed. But, this had, in the distance of a hair strand, been dodged by Ravan, who turned around till he's horizontal. T/N, oh my. FN. Towards the crumble in his upper body stance, he preemptively attacked quickly with his right fist. Without a single word, he rushed in with his right fist, rushed for an attack. Ravan combined the strength of his wrists in the form of a cross to stop the blow. At the same time, he fixed himself on Akiran's right wrist, and as it is, he added rotational force by coiling around his wrist and through him. At that instant, Ravan's body was blown off and he collapsed horizontally as if he was flicked, and Akiran, who received a half-baked hit and also fell over. Akiran nimbly got up as if he did not receive a single scratch. However, Ravan, who had collapsed as he made sounds of anguish with his mouth, spilling fresh blood. Seeing Ravan's struggle, Akiran said this. That was Sundastar. A penetrating attack against internal body at a close distance. It seems you have used it. I also have a technique like that. Whether it is very close, or at zero distance, it is not a problem. Be as it may, within the qualifier this technique hasn't been seen before. It was likely kept for the sake of using it in the finals, that Ravan had been splendidly outsmarted. In one way or another Ravan adjusted his breathing and stood, but his gait can hardly be said as light. Due to receiving the Sunda hit while almost defenseless, he must have taken internal damage. It will be decided in one strike. If you were to accept defeat now, you still can escape death, you know. Without saying a word and readying himself, Ravan's determined decision can be read from his eyes. At this point Akiran's words were useless. No, deciding not dirty his, Ravan's, pride as a warrior, he too, readied his stance. Let's go. At the time, on the side of the stone stage, a small unrest started. Noticing Asmina's attempt to jump towards Ravan, Hyuki bound her arms behind her back to restrain her. Wait. It's against the rules to enter the stage now. Let me go. At this rate, Ravan Nyasima will die. As she had a far smaller and thinner body, Hyuki, who had pressured her with all her status points, was impossible to shake off. Asmina screamed and cried as if she was a spoilt child. It's still the middle of the fight. Ravan still have the will to fight. How could you not trust in him? If you were to get in between the fight now, wouldn't you end up betraying Ravan? Even if I betray or if he lose, it's fine. As long as Nii-san will still be alive. Ravan heard her voice. Unexpectedly, the overpowering sound of footsteps of death that approached, started to wither in his heart, suddenly lightening. Speaking of which, this happened a while ago. Through his younger sister's scream and the voice of Hyuki calming her, he thought of the match which was held a few days ago in the presence of his master, the Beast King, a few days ago. Good grief. It seems like I haven't grown a bit. Thinking of those times, he made a smile. It was as if a fog had been lifted from his heart, perfectly clearing it to show a sunny sky. At the sight of this expression, Akiran was puzzled in an instant, furrowing his brow. However, his concentration was not affected. At the same time, when Ravan closes the distance, condensing all the K in his whole body, he pushed out his right palm. Ravan, who had received deep internal damage, did not dodge, and on the other hand, even if he did, he was confident his next strike will connect. But in the moment when Akiran's palm touched Ravan's chest, something happened. Together with a resistance he felt as he punched the air, Akiran's attack missed. Ravan spun counterclockwise. It was a natural movement, as if he was spun by Akiran's push, as if he were feathers flying in the wind. From there, Ravan thrown a middle punch as if it was as a natural thing to do. To begin with, this was the basics, a technique which is taught by the teacher in the beginning. There was no hesitation or defect. It was similar to that day when Hyuki had released it. Ton. That was the sound it made as he lightly struck, which was as he expected, yet the point where the strike landed caused a shockwave, and Akiran, who had used his entire body's technique and counter, was blown back for several tens of meters, falling on top of the stone stage. No matter how stubbornly he tried to get up, Akiran's bones were clearly broken due to the strike that was landed earlier. Towards Akiran, Ravan lowered his head. I thank you for the directions you gave, Tribe Chief Akiran. Because of your efforts, this body was able to be improved. At those words, Akiran's eyes went round in an instant, and following that he laughed with a happy manner. You thanked me for the win? That's a great. If I were to win, I would have sucked you bed to ecstasy. Good grief, it's my loss. The whole audience that had been quiet, at that moment, was roused to burst out with cheers and claps. Nyaizen. Asmina, who was overwhelmed by her emotions, had tears running down her face as she rushed towards Ravan. Even though Asmina should have been restrained under the stone stage, Hyuki was shaken off by Asmina, who used all her strength. How did she? At the sight of the impossible feat, she was gobsmacked. With that, Ravan was officially recognized as the successor of the Beast King through the formal nomination, and after the tournament he gathered all of the tribe chiefs, exited the Cress Kingdom and formally established an alliance with Imperial Crimson. As a result, Cress Kingdom was suspected of rebellion *, so the federal government, more accurately, the countries surrounding it, centering on St. Luna Kingdom, dispatched military force under the pretext of suppressing the rebellion, and the Beastkin reacted from their discontent. As a result, they were split into two factions, the Cress Kingdom faction and St. Luna Kingdom faction. At the time, one by one in terms of strength, generally speaking they would be disadvantaged on Cress Kingdom's side, but under the banner of the young tribe leader Ravan, they ended the fight with the strong tribes starting from the Lion King tribe, with Imperial Crimson indirectly giving aid and protecting the civilians. They are also able to compete equally with St. Luna Kingdom in terms of material and human resources, causing the pause in the battlefronts. But, to not miss this chance, Gravire Empire with the backing of Holy Kingdom Ian would begin to invade St. Luna. St. Luna Kingdom was unable to deal with this multifaceted state of war's outbreak, and the shape of the battlefronts of Cress Kingdom, which was barely supported, was being forced back. Countries in the Federation also maintained their neutrality, changed sides to Cress Kingdom. Eventually St. Luna Kingdom and Youth Grand Duchy were forced to cede by the Empire. From this, it was a matter of fact that the Cress St. Luna Federation will crumble, and the chief of the Federation, Baldum, will forever be under house arrest in the Empire. At this rate, in the nick of time, it appears that a trigger of total out war will be fired between the Empire and Cress Kingdom, formerly named Cress Freedom Alliance, but a formal belonging treaty between the Cress Freedom Alliance and Imperial Crimson had been executed, and became a Virginia S.Sal state similar to Amisha. Fearing the lengthening and magnification of war, a compromise settlement was advised by Gravile's side, so that the both parties can put down their arms. All above was the series of events that came to a close in half a month. From this, Cress St. Luna Federation, which was in the first position of the three major countries, was dissolved. The status of Gravire Empire, which was number 2, was elevated to the first place, and their position was succeeded by Imperial Crimson. Because of the country's territory size, the shape of the diagram changed into two big empires and Holy Kingdom Ian. Speaking of which, because Collard is the king of Amisha Republic, Imperial Crimson's sovereign hierarchy was informing the current international situation. That's so quick. How could that be? Although it could be said the person was greatly perplexed, the truth of the situation hasn't been confirmed. In the next chapter, it will be about the internal workings of a young country. Even though I say so I'll be depending on others, there will be an appointment with the Gravire Empire, not to the point of an all-out war though. Hello people, if you like to read the rest of the book, please go to https://bestlightnovel.com/novel_8881213118/chapter_51. If you would like to hear more of the book, you could make a Google Doc with the text without the Janus letters. The text-to-speech app cannot handle lots of Janus symbols.